How are you?
Good. My name is Richard Stathakis. I live at 13883 Timberview Drive. Mr. Chairman and Board of Trustees, what I have to say here tonight has been on my mind for quite some time, and I believe that according to your board meeting rules, I have 10 minutes to say it without interruption. Thank you. You know, the more I watch these board meetings on TV and talk about them with my wife and friends, and the more I learn about how our township is being managed, the more disillusioned I become. Even my elder son, a college freshman, is disgusted as he feels that many of our so-called political leaders do not lead. Instead, they react to situations that arise, or worse, they fail to lead by example. One word that's mentioned quite frequently, in fact all the time in the high school business character and values class I'm involved with, is integrity. And it's really pretty basic. Integrity amounts to doing what you say you'll do. It means being dependable, being consistent. It means being able to deliver what those around you are counting on you to deliver. And it means that when you give someone your word, you stick to it. And we also learn that integrity is fragile. Integrity is damaged when we are told that our township new police and court complex is projected to cost $20 million. And then a few weeks later, we are told that the projection for the campus has increased to $23 million or more. Integrity is damaged when a township supervisor tells the newspapers that he's undercompensated for the work that he does. Never mind that private sector workers are losing their jobs and their homes, losing health care, or have not received a pay raise in quite some time. Integrity is damaged when a township supervisor says that he needs a pay raise and at the same meeting explains that township layoffs are probable. Another value that I and others do not see enough of is honesty. Honesty is about telling the truth and not misleading people. It's about not being evasive. It's about openness. Mr. Supervisor, it's common knowledge around our township that there needs to be greater cohesiveness on this Board of Trustees. And I think anyone watching these meetings would agree. The people sitting to your left and to your right also have been elected to lead our township. They do have equal voice. Their viewpoints deserve to be heard even when you're certain that you already have the solution, and especially when one of them suggests an idea that you hadn't thought of. When I look around and see what's happening, I must admit that my son Carl is right in his observations. He told me that we need leaders who will hold themselves accountable for their actions, who will make decisions based on real-world conditions, and most importantly, he says, who will work for the people with integrity and honesty. Mr. Supervisor, our request to you is to stop talking about your salary, about raising it. Stop complaining about being underpaid. Start taking seriously how our tax money is being spent so that our township's campus project with a police and court complex is not $3 million over the projections, even before the first shovel of dirt is turned. Start improving communication with your fellow trustees, and start cutting township spending where spending can and should be cut. And treat everyone, whether they're elected or not, with dignity and respect. I also have a request for the board members. You're duly elected to represent the people of Shelby Township. So voice your opinion and let us hear what you think more. Tonight was a great example, I think, of what we want to see. We don't want to hear from one person, and we don't want to hear what one person thinks all the time, because that's not only boring, but it's also not right. We want to hear what each of you thinks, even if we disagree with you on a particular issue. And don't be afraid to speak up, and I think some of you are not, and most of you are not. For example, continue to speak on spending issues, like at the last meeting when most of you insisted on approving overcharges for the new police and court complex. Everything that takes place at these board meetings is important, and Shelby residents want and deserve to hear and see democracy at work. If the supervisor does not step up to protect our money, then as guardians of our township, board members must, and you did. And for that, I thank you. Shelby Township is a terrific community. That's why our 72,000 residents and 1,600 businesses take such pride in what Shelby has to offer. Despite what the supervisor may think, it does not take one person to run a township. It takes a team. You are all equal members of Shelby's team. And yes, as trustees, you have a very difficult job, but I encourage all of you to keep doing your part in voicing your opinion. And one more thing, I'm a businessman, and as I see it, the principles of running a township are not much different than running a business. It all starts with understanding what the people need and then delivering on those needs. In closing, I ask you, Mr. Supervisor, to remember those values about which I spoke, integrity and honesty. And then you need to be accountable. You need to understand what is fully expected of you and then be fully committed to those expectations. That's the way it works in business, and that's the way it needs to happen here. Thank you all for your time, and thanks for listening.
And thank you, sir. Words well spoken. Mr. J. Joe.